Section 5 involves completing 3 separate tasks. The first task is to create and send an application to the renter. Next, obtain a credit report on each of the proposed tenants. Finally, prepare the lease. There are a couple of companies that I recommend for accomplishing these tasks. One of them, as we previously discussed, is Tenant. From their website, navigate to the Tenant dashboard. The steps they have outlined for leasing a rental are listed on the right-hand side. It begins with an invitation for the tenant to submit an application. Again, you've shown the property, and you now have renters who are interested in this property. We need to send them an application. That is what will be done here. Click here, and all that needs to be done is to fill out the required information, including their email address, select the property to which they are applying, and submit it. That's it. Also, you need to decide which type of credit report is required. Please note that the tenant will be responsible for the cost of this credit report. In this instance, the credit report that is ordered is the standard report. Then, it's just a matter of clicking on Invite, and the email is sent. The email will include an application that must be completed, along with the necessary information to generate the credit report. Tenant will handle all of this. Once that information is received, the next step will be to obtain a lease agreement, and you'll click here, select the property, continue, and then you're done. At this point, then, you're selecting the contents or the information that needs to be included in the lease. Here, you'll need to provide the property's address, set the rent amount, security deposit, and any other fees that the tenant is required to pay. You will also need to verify that the landlord and tenant's information that they have provided is correct. The next step is to decide if you want specific clauses to appear in the lease. For instance, are pets allowed? Is smoking allowed? Additionally, there are several other requirements. For example, insurance requirements. Is renter's insurance required? Additionally, you will need to answer questions about utilities. Who will pay for the utilities? It's almost always the tenant, but that's up to you. There are also clauses regarding keys. What happens if somebody loses their keys? Who pays for lost keys? And then finally, there is another section where you must decide on specific other provisions that need to be included. If the house happens to have an HOA, we will discuss disclosures further in a later section. Okay, that is Tenant. Another provider is Zillow Rental Manager, which is also available. It's set up a little bit differently, but again, it asks the same questions. If you previously listed your property on Zillow Rental Manager, all that needs to be done is to complete the process. Okay, you've already listed the property and identified potential renters who are interested in renting the unit and want to send them an application. That's done here, and that is all that's required. That sends an email to that renter and asks them to provide all their personal information, including information for the credit report. One thing I want to emphasize is that when they give this information, you will only receive a summary of the results. That information will be stored on Zillow or Tenant servers, which is maintained by them. That provides the best protection for their personal information. I don't want any of their personal information on my computers, such as social security numbers, etc. There is too much liability associated with protecting their private information. Now, you have sent the application and received everything back, including all the necessary information. The next step is to complete the lease, which can be done here. You'll then get started and work through the same kind of questions that appeared with Tenant. That is it. Whichever provider you use, they've undoubtedly set up a process for working from the listing to providing the lease. As a side note, Whichever provider you choose, they can also collect rent payments, pay expenses, and disperse the proceeds to you, the landlord. Let's move on to the next section.